Call the spaceships to Davenport, prepare for divanarchy, and interface with a couch in space. Superstar Terry from Batavia, first in the chat room today. I'm all up in the screen because I just want to make sure that all our systems are functioning top shelf today because we got a great guest, and I'm excited to see everybody out here in the black. But speaking of black, our sponsors keep us in the black, so let's take a little break to talk to our advertisers. Before we do that, real quick, triple celebrity. Dre from Data Bomb, Damage from Planet Damage. Does the couch has universal USB though? No, we're all SCSI ports here, man, on Space Couch, old school. You want to check out Tiger Squawk Records. Out now from Tiger Squawk Records, the debut of Amalgamated Cadaver. That's me and definitely making a noise. Club Ovaders, Tonslator is their best work. The Gossicles covered My Hero Prince with Delirious. Melting Rust Opera drops a single for the updates. You want to check out Sega Lugosi has been on fire. The full length from Melting Rust Opera out of Germany is out now. Varsity Gore from Sydney, Australia's Isserley is amazing. Eternal Merch Girl, the new single from Elias Synesthesia out of Toronto. The Gossicles dropped Animal Songs, and that's how our guest is here. Putting the Stars Right, the charity compilation for the Lovecraft Arts and Sciences Council. We're going to save Necronomicon by hook or by crook or by hooked tentacle. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest, Michael from Grasp Logic, is here. Our guest today is multifaceted like a D20. He is coming from a lot of different worlds, and I'm really excited to explore all those because exploring new worlds is what we're all about here on this Cosmic Couch. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Randy Hoffman. What's up, buddy?
Hey, great to be here.
Awesome. Welcome to space. I know you're no stranger, but welcome to our sofa-based area of space. So let's just start here because I think it's pretty awesome to me because one of the things that I'm really missing is just a gosh darn good fan run con, and because the pandemic's now, it's finally reached us out here in the Oort cloud past Saturn in space, so we're locked down too. But you are the music programming coordinator at Confluence. High level describe. Let's do this, man. Like fan run cons. Like what's the difference between like a big name sort of corporate, I'll say it, con and like the fan run world?
Right. So fan run conventions are typically nonprofit or at least not for profit. They're run for fans by fans or fan organizations, and they can be pretty much any size. Usually there's the small ones are often fan run, but even Dragon Con qualifies as a fan run convention.
Good point, man.
Yeah. And where that differs from your corporate convention is, when you go to a con that's run for profit by a company, you're usually, you're going to pay for parking. You're going to pay to get in the door. You're going to pay for the autographs. You're going to pay for the meet and greet. You'll pay for the food. Yeah, basically, yeah. But yet, if you go up to the people running the info desk and say, "I don't recognize this name in the program. What work have they done?" They won't be able to tell you.
Right.
I mean, they're there to suck the money out of you, and that's basically it. So I'm pleased to be affiliated with Confluence, which is a convention in Pittsburgh that's basically been run by pretty much the same group of fans for over 30 years
That's
now.
so awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, it started in that 1988 as a collaboration between Parsec, which was the premier Pittsburgh science fiction club at the time, and S2F2A, which was the University of Pittsburgh science fiction club. We met for the first couple of years in Pitt's Student Union building, and then
That's so cool.
then basically Parsec took it over, and we moved into some hotels. And I have some stories about the first hotel that we moved into that we might have time for. But
All right.
yeah, but it's a good con, and we've been around long enough that we know how to run a con. You will have a good time at Confluence.
Well, that's
we can guarantee that.
Fantastic. Let's get into that. So, tell us a bit about Confluence in its current state, and what might, meaning, sort of once we get back to reality, or its new Comonfluence iteration, and what sort of, a lot of times there'll be a special thing like a convention. The hotel is circular, so it makes the room parties really cool, or it'll focus on new games or something like that. So high level, tell us about Confluence and what's the special sauce for your particular con?
Sure. So Confluence has always had a really strong literary track, meaning that if you read science fiction, fantasy, or horror, and you want to meet the best authors in the genre, well, caveat, the best authors that a small convention can afford, and you want to know what they're thinking and get a chance to talk to them and all that. We have always been really good at that, and we have a great group of authors and editors and other literary and artistic people who come back every year, and we have a great convention on that side. So the kind of the old school books and more books kind of vibe. So that's still going at Confluence. But also, awesome. I have been running the music programming since 1995.
Yeah, buddy.
And since 2001, we have had a full weekend music track. So
awesome.
you can come in, and if you are basically interested in music, you can just come, and there's music going on all the time. Well, maybe not quite 24/7, but it's close. So
it's really...
yeah, and I started out because I started out in the filk genre, basically the music by science fiction fans for other science fiction fans. And it was only slowly that I became aware that, hey, there are other fannish musical communities out there. And what unfortunately is happening is that the filk community is getting gray. We're aging, and what I have tried to do is to bring in people from other communities that maybe have a little bit more cultural currency and a little bit more vibrancy. So now we have people coming in, steampunk bands,
nice.
Nerdcore rappers, video game music people, and acts, and it's a great mix. And
awesome.
When the pandemic happened and we had to cancel last year, basically those two pillars of the convention had to split in two, because I was ready to run music, a virtual music weekend in our normal spot, which is the last weekend of July. The literary side needed time to get everything together. So for Comonfluence, we did Confluence the Musical, which was my side. Um, and then we did Confluence the Novelization, which was the literary side.
Nice.
And
And that's just sort of like the
yeah,
online variant of Confluence.
right. Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, when conventions started to get canceled and virtual conventions took their place, it was like, well, uh, do we just call this the virtual con name, or what do
Hmm.
we do? And so the Filk conventions, consonants became nonsonants, and Filk Ontario became Filk Ontario no, and that sort of thing. So
Okay, I
yeah,
gotcha.
so there was some brainstorming, and Confluence basically was like, yeah, that's
It's
that,
pretty
because
good.
we didn't want to do non-fluence. That wasn't where we wanted to go.
Right.
But
You're not quite a cover band.
Confluence, hey,
There
come
you
on in,
go.
enjoy. So yeah, so Confluence novelization had some. There was a little bit of music and mostly literary, but we did get some footage of that, and I know that you have some of that sitting
Yeah.
around.
Well, yeah, you are a segue champ. You nat 20 on that segue. Let's take a look at just a dusting of what Confluence offered most.
Know he is a God. Few mortal folk can lift it. They just stand and look in awe. He asked you to hold it better. Get real comfy.
Nobody in the universe except somebody who loves you dearly is going to wade through whatever that middle section was. And of course, you'll be much politer, but they get really, really mad. So I imagine.
And so and it's funny because I think that's a feeling that I get from a lot of writers of color. Like, they're writing from a perspective that is sort of inherently, just by virtue of their life experience, anti-establishment, right? And there's something very punk about that whole thing.
Gadzooks, grumbling in a murky snurfle swamp, rancid rodents of unusual side ruminating on the stench embroiled within. Necrosis has brought out the odoriferousness.
Okay, so we saw some music,
Yeah.
some literary discussion, some Vogon poetry, all these
Yep.
things you can see at Confluence in Pittsburgh. Much love to
Right.
Pittsburgh.
So yeah, we hope that's going to be the in-person convention. Will be back in 2022. We'll
Oh, yeah.
hope, and you're definitely looking forward to that. Now for this year, the literary side looks like it's not happening, but Confluence, or rather Confluence, thank you to Melissa Garber for that name. Will be happening on July 23rd through the 25th. And that there will be a web page up for it eventually. There is a Facebook event for it, but yeah, I'll type the title into the chat, and basically
Oh,
people can
you are on it.
let's
There's a
see.
reason why
Well,
we
yeah,
got you as the
the
programming
Skype
director.
chat, that's not going to really work very well.
No. You just toss it. We'll toss it out in the comments for this episode.
Sure,
It'll
sure.
be
Okay.
confluence/sff.org.
That's the web page. Yeah.
And we'll get something up for Facey Books and Twitcherooskies and all that, because it's gonna be great.
So, yeah, basically we have. I just want to plug Come On Two
Yeah,
Inch
totally.
quickly, because in addition to a concert by the Gothsicles,
Yeah,
thank
you're
you
gonna see
very much.
us.
Yes, you are. We have a whole range of wonderful people from the Phil community. We have some folks. Puzzlebox and Terrence Chua. Terrence is sending in a pre-recorded set from Singapore. And this is not just coming from various fannish genres of music, but it's coming from all over the world.
Awesome.
The steampunk band Victor Sierra is going to open the weekend with a live set from Paris.
Wow.
On Friday, the 23rd of July. We have sets from Amy Engelhardt, formerly of the Bobs, who is a terrific comedy performer. We have eccentric Americana artist Greg Klima doing his first fannish event in about 20 years. We have returning after 20 years since they were Confluence's first featured music guest.
Oh, hey.
Kenny Young and the Eggplants from New York City will be doing a concert. We have sets from Noir Grime in the nerdcore realm, Starfarer in the synthwave genre. Just a mess of different people.
Love it.
I'd love to put more on, but there are only so many hours in the weekend. But yeah, we'll have pretty solid on Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday, and there will be open song circles after the concerts are over. So, if you've got, it does not matter your level of proficiency or competence or whatever. If you've got a song to sing, hey, join us and sing. We accept you. We are here for the music.
It is awesome that to hear that extends to cons throughout the world. The Gothical's first experience with we'd only ever played like goth bars and stuff, and then we sort of rolled into MarsCon in Bloomington, Minnesota, and we're just like, I don't know what's going on here at a Holiday Inn Express, but that dude's dressed like Deathstroke and that dude's dressed like a Klingon. This will probably be fine. But, you see these filk bands and these nerdcore bands, and hope you guys like weird, screamy industrial, because that's all we can do. And people were all in. So I definitely echo our guest's sentiment today about just participate. It really does make for a wonderful experience. But let's not bury the lead. How'd you get into the musical programming role of this whole crazy world?
Well, that's kind of a roundabout and interesting topic, because my first convention, science fiction convention, was MarCon in Columbus in 1989.
Okay.
And I went to the Filk there, and I actually composed a song, which has thankfully been lost to history. But it didn't really stick. It was like, okay, that's cool that this goes on, but I wasn't that much into it at the time. What did hit me was I got to see some of the great anime of the period for the first time. I watched Akira for the first time, the Dirty Pair for the first time, Bubblegum Crisis for the first time. I was like, whoa!
Right.
So when I started, I attended Confluence for the first time later that year, volunteered a bit, and when I got out of college, I volunteered, hey, I'll run the video program. So, it was a mix of science fiction film and, I should say Western science fiction film and anime and all that sort of thing. And I had a great time doing that. It was fairly successful. Less successful, I ran an audio room for a couple of years where you could listen to science fiction and classic radio show recordings. That was not well attended. Oh well. It was an experiment. And then when I happened to notice that my college buddies, Rand Bellavia and Adam English, had formed a duo that they called Ookla the Mock.
Oh, hey!
Yeah. And they were playing in bars in Buffalo and just getting nowhere. And they sent me a copy of their basement tape, and I listened to it, and I was like, you guys are playing for the wrong audience. And so I got Rand out to MarCon in, I think it was 1993.
Yeah.
And he and Adam played, I think, Contradiction in Niagara Falls later that year. And then they played Astronomicon in Rochester, and they met the Filk trio known as Urban Tapestry. And it was like, they just, big connections there. And so, long and short of it, Ookla the Mock has had a storied...
You're the guy that set Ookla the Mock
I am the guy who brought Ookla the Mock into
Hell
canon.
yeah.
Yes. And so, as I was accompanying them to the various, to the open filking and such, I realized, hey, this is really cool music. I dig it a lot. And so I started, writing songs myself. And I discovered another cool thing, which was that, pretty much like every time I've tried to write a short story, it turns into a novel. And every time I try to write a novel, it turns into this gargantuan epic that could not hope to ever be finished. But songs I can write. They have they have the structure that I can actually power through them and come up with something that I'm proud of and that other people enjoy listening to. So
Yeah. Well,
worked
that
out.
is super duper setup number 2. Let's play a little bit of the Hoffman original Naked Mole Rat. Side note, we both have songs named Naked Mole Rat, which is pretty awesome. And as you might have heard on Dr. Demento. So here is just a little bit of Naked Mole Rat. Did I not set that up? Oh, that's okay. We'll do it manually.
Naked mole rat, you burrow in the dark. Naked mole rat, in an African national park. Naked mole rat, your teeth aren't like those of a shark or cat or dog or weasel or stoat or anything else except maybe a beaver, only smaller. Naked mole rat, I don't love you.
Okay, we are back. Ship still in working order. Okay.
So, sure. Yeah. So I have been both the organizer and just to finish that story, I did eventually transition over into running the music programming from the video programming at Confluence. I've been doing that for 25 years. But I've won a number of songwriting contests in the Phil community. I have I've been nominated for a Pegasus Award, which is Phil's equivalent of the Grammys, a couple of times. Never won that, but I was inducted into the Phil Hall of Fame a couple of years ago. So that was a really, really lovely.
Pretty awesome, man. That's pretty great. We'll be playing with Dr. Demento in August. He's the guest of honor at a comedy music convention we're doing at you know all about Fump Fest. That will be the Fump site. Incidentally, you can hear Naked Mole Rat on the Fump.com, the sideshow section.
Yes, I used to have several songs on the sideshow, but then I discovered that they were popping up on pirate sites around the world and stuff, and a couple of those songs were not my original tunes. I had been given permission for them for my album, but no one had ever given permission, that this would be, like available worldwide for free on your latest, scammy malware site.
Yeah.
So I asked Devo Spice to take those down. And,
okay.
But I've done 5 albums, both my own and with my my unfortunately late partner Kira. She died 5 years ago, and I miss her still tremendously. But I do have a 6th one that I'm working on. I've been slowly trying to record it with Lady J of Wreck the System down in College Park, Maryland, and hopefully that will be out sometime next year.
Cool. Where do we get that?
That is a very, very good question. If you will be able to get that if you go to certain conventions throughout the Midwest. I will have that for sale through a couple dealers there. I don't know whether I will put it up on Bandcamp or not. We'll see. I may put up the old ones as digital downloads. They're all out of print now, but Yeah, it's possible.
Cool, man. All right. Well, if it ends up being that boutique convention audience, value added bonus to all those con goers.
Yeah.
I'm interested, sort of cosmically, I guess. Pardon the pun. Like, did you have any like sort of early indicators that you would be into this line of music or fannish world? Like, did you sort of gravitate towards oddball novelty music, if I can say that, at an early age?
Um, well, uh, I was always involved in music by virtue of my mother being a Christian singer and church choir director and all that sort of thing. So I grew up singing in churches and then graduated into various other
Okay.
sorts of
Awesome.
things. But yes, I was always interested in the weird and the unusual. For the pastor's son to have the sort of the uh, night glow in the dark posters of movie monsters and stuff
Hell yeah.
on the bedroom wall. Yeah, that was always a little odd.
Good
But yeah,
stuff.
I ran into. I got a copy of Lester Del Rey's book Runaway Robot when I was like 10, and I was like, "This is awesome." And then Chronicles of Narnia, The Lord of the Rings,
Sure.
and I was basically I became a science fiction and fantasy fan, and science fiction book club junkie, the late lamented science fiction book club, and yeah, and I have always been a collector of things. So
Cool.
yeah, when eventually I got into Filk, I just I ended up going in full bore. So
Cool,
yeah.
man. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Well, the Filk trains continues possibly with you because you're not only are you doing Confluence, but you're involved in WorldCon and
Yeah.
what's the distinction between WorldCon and what I understand to be DisCon?
All right. So the World Science Fiction Convention, or the WorldCon, is held in a different city every year and has been since the late 1930s. So basically, at each WorldCon, there will be bids have been organized. People from different cities will bid on, hey, we want to host the WorldCon in such and such a year. And 2 years in advance, the attendees of that WorldCon vote on where the WorldCon will go in 2 years' time. And so 2 years ago, the Washington, D.C. bid won. So now we are organizing DisCon. This will be DisCon 3, the third WorldCon in DC. But it's the first one since 1971. So it's
Oh,
or
wow.
not 71. I think it's 73. Anyway, it's been almost 50 years.
Wow.
Since this happened the last time.
I have this listed as the Red Hour. Oh, that was last week's guest. Don't worry about it, Jason. We'll figure it out. I screwed up my titles. That's okay.
Anyway, so yeah, so DisCon is this year's science fiction World Science Fiction Convention. Normally, the WorldCon is held somewhere close to Labor Day, but and that was our original date was in August, and then the pandemic happened. Last year's World Science Fiction Convention in New Zealand had to be taken completely virtual. So that sucked because I know a lot of people were interested. Hey, we're going to New Zealand.
Sounds awesome.
Gonna see Hobbiton and all these other
perfect.
Lord of the Rings filming sites and go to the WorldCon. So it's really a bummer that didn't work out. But then, so this year it was like, well, we don't want to cancel, but our problem became that our flagship hotel, which was the Marriott Wardman Park Hotel in Washington, D.C., was a huge complex that was built for big trade shows. And because of the pandemic, they were losing a staggering amount of money on a daily basis.
Wow.
And eventually, the hotel went bankrupt.
Okay.
And then there were various ownership groups, and none of them wanted to get stuck with the bag. So the bankruptcy went into litigation and everything, and they did not want to release us, because if you have future business lined up as a hotel, well, that's something that you can throw in to prospective buyers. It's like, hey, if you want to buy the hotel, we've already got this, and this other event lined up. And, our thought was, look, you guys can't provide this service to. You can't be the hotel. You are not going to be able to be the hotel in time, regardless of who buys you. We're not looking for a piece of the pie. We just want released from this contract. And so finally it went, our turn came in bankruptcy court, and we eventually got free. So now we are in December 15th through the 19th, which is not the greatest time to hold a convention. We if there were any other option for holding an in-person convention, we would have taken it. But we are at the Omni Shoreham Hotel in D.C., December 15th through the 19th, and we're going to do our best to do a great convention, given our constraints. It's smaller space than we would like, and obviously, we don't know what the weather's going to be like, but we're going to try. So the WorldCon has two major events that always happen, one of which is the WorldCon Masquerade, which is one of the most prestigious costume contests in the world. So that's happening. And we also have the Hugo Awards, which are the biggest fan awards for, you name it, short stories, novels, TV series, movies, fanzines, fan writers, fan artists, professional editors, semi-professional, you name it. There's the whole raft of stuff. And, fortunately, we are now past a dark phase, I would say, of the Hugo Awards, which was a bunch of basically alt-right trolls decided, they've got these people of color and these women that they keep nominating for these awards. Where's the kind of literature we want to read? And they figured out that the way that nominations were structured, they could rig the ballots if they did a whole bunch of block
Get out.
ballots.
Really?
Yeah, so they clogged up the ballots with all of these just really, people you wouldn't want to read and works you really wouldn't want to read. So for a couple of years, several categories in the of the Hugo Awards, everybody voted no award just to, avoid rewarding these guys for their shenanigans. So now the voting structure has been changed, and that's not happening anymore. So we're really happy about that.
Oh, wow. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So anyhow, so I am the music area head for DisCon. So, and unfortunately, I will apologize to those of you who have been trying to work with me right up front. I have had a lot of distractions. My work is really heavy duty, and I'm living with my parents, and we have family in here all the time. So between my work and family obligations, I have not been able to prepare as well as I should have, and in this last, we finally got all that untangled from the bankruptcy mess like 2 months ago,
Oh
and
wow.
I was hoping that we would be, all right, let's get to
Right.
it, let's get our invitation letters all formatted so we can start inviting people, and that still hasn't happened yet, and
Mhm.
that's my bad, that's my fault, but I am, definitely trying to get things worked out.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, I mean, I'm over the moon. It gets to happen at all. December is not traditionally a con season,
no,
but hey, what better time to escape into fantastical lands or cybernetic vistas?
indeed.
It's all good. Oh man, this it's just Hugo. As a sci-fi fan, I've just been hearing and I've been consuming, if you will, Hugo Award stuff for years and years. So
Mhm.
that. That's where it actually goes down is pretty awesome. I didn't know about
Yep.
the whole thing with the alt right goons, but I'm glad you got that figured out. That's pretty
Yeah,
gnarly. Like,
sure.
I mean, why why spend the calories to screw up sci-fi fantasy? It seems like it's
Right. Well, I mean, it's not just the time. These people were. You have to buy some sort of membership
oh
to actually
really?
nominate. So they were spending serious money to screw up the Hugos. It's amazing to me.
Well, you
Anyhow,
know,
so um, I would like to put out the invitation to uh, musicians, songwriters, performers. If you are interested, if
hmm
you are undaunted by the fact of coming to a convention in mid-December to perform, I would love to hear from you.
okay.
And so uh, drop me a line at randy.hoffman at discon3.org. It's fairly straightforward.
That's
And
discon dot
yeah,
org.
well,
Um,
DISCON, the number three
I
dot org.
screwed it up. Okay,
That's
so
no problem.
let's
Anyway,
do the whole thing. It's
Randy, RANDY,
yeah
dot Hoffman, HOFFMAN,
at
at Discon, DISCON, the number three dot org.
hell
There
yeah,
you
we did
go.
it. All right. Um,
Okay.
so
So
Dossicles applied.
I will caution folks that one of the difficulties about Worldcon is that it has some very, very old traditions that date from its creation as the world gathering of authors,
Mm,
basically. So it was founded partially by people who were professional authors who were also fans. And the idea was that everybody who comes to this convention, whether they be professionals or fans, unless they're one of the big, guests of honor type people, everybody pays to get in.
mm,
Everybody forks out their membership money regardless. So obviously that becomes problem. If you are a musician, you're not looking, the last thing you're looking to do is pay money
mm-hmm.
for the privilege of playing. I mean, yes, we're going to have hopefully 2,000-3,000 people at
Oh
on
wow.
hand. I don't know how many of them are going to be turning out for the music, but we've got the Empire Ballroom. We've got a huge room to play in, so it could be lots.
Awesome.
Um, we do have to kind of offset this particular problem. We will be able to give out a limited number of complimentary 1 day memberships so that performers can come in and at least you won't be charged for the day that you're there. I believe we'll have a hospitality suite lined up that you can get, you can get your food while you're there and all that good stuff. And I am also trying to work with the DC nerdcore rapper Artemis.
Cool.
To line up some, if you need a gig while you're in town that pays, I'm trying to work with Artemis to line up some gig. I mean, he knows the club scene in DC a whole lot better than I do. So, this is the first time, that I think anyone has tried something like this at Worldcon, and I've been right up front with our programming division head and our con chair that we have to make it worth musicians' time, because historically at the Worldcon you get like two types of people who perform at the Worldcon. You get fans, filkers who are going to, who are there and they're going to play anyway. So mostly you've got amateur people, and you've got science fiction authors who just happen to perform music, and they'll perform, and some of those people are really good and some of them aren't.
Happens.
And so I've got some stories about that too. Yeah, so we want to work with bands and artists to make it possible to perform at DisCon and make money. If that's possible, we want to help work that out. So
awesome.
Yeah, get in touch with me and we will see what can happen.
Very cool. Very cool. Looking forward to whatever we can shuttle your way. Haha.
I didn't know the space puns had a bottom of the barrel. Okay.
Well, all directions are up here out in space.
Oh,
so,
of course. So then everywhere is the bottom of the barrel.
Yes.
I understand better now.
The everything has equal weight with no gravity. So much we could get to. I'm dying to know about your involvement with one of my favorite technologies on the planet, multi-arcade machine emulator, or MAME.
Right.
Tell me about your time as an unemulated game finder.
Sure. So, in the first years of MAME,
I'm sorry, Randy. Let me put a pin in it real quick. Just so you know, MAME, play arcade games on your computer. It's dope. All right. Boom, boom. Back to you.
Yeah, basically, yeah. MAME, the whole ambition of MAME is to emulate, as insofar as possible, every video arcade machine ever made. Yeah, there have been so many thousands, but yeah, back in the early days, we're talking 98, 99. MAME was founded in 1997. There was really sparse information about a lot of games. We had lists of games that various manufacturers had come out with that we had no documentation for. There were not games that some of them never made it to the United States.
And when you say we, that's just like an online community, or
that is the main, just the community of people who were interested in helping MAME move forward. So
cool.
What I did was I started a website that was centered around what are some of the games that are not emulated in MAME yet. What do we know about them? And so I had a whole I had pages for a bunch of different manufacturers, a bunch of different titles, and the MAME development team said, we really appreciate your dedication and your attention to detail, and why don't you come on board? So yeah, I was part of the MAME development team for several years.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, I didn't actually get to. I didn't contribute any code to the project, but I contributed, all kind of information, and then we eventually got a project together to actually go and buy unemulated games so that they could be dumped.
Oh, wow.
Meaning so that the ROM chips and other memory devices could be taken from the circuit boards and run through a ROM reader or what have you to try to extract the data so that we could create the emulation. And so we acquired a lot of on eBay auctions and stuff. There were at the time there were people who finally giving up on their arcade, their warehouses full of arcade games. So we'd have these whole warehouses full of boards that would come onto eBay at that time. That never happens now, really. But it would just be dumped as they'd have some title attached to them, and people would be like, "Is this something we need? I'm not sure." So if I thought that if it's I think that's one of these targets.
Oh, wow.
And we could afford it. We'd have people send donations in, and we'd go and buy it. And
perspicacious.
It worked out pretty well, although unfortunately, oftentimes we were bidding against Japanese collectors, and Japanese arcade game collectors, for the most part, have this obsession with I owned this rare board, and part of the cachet of that ownership is that I don't have to share it with anyone else, which is exactly the opposite mindset of of MAME.
Right.
So a lot of times these Japanese collectors, they would win a board and it would vanish. It would go away forever. We would never see it
It's
again.
cinematic.
And I was really, one of my great regrets. I was bidding on a board for a game called El Fin de Tiempo by the Spanish arcade company Niemer. And it's an extremely rare game. That was the only copy any of us had ever seen.
Is that the white whale? I was going to ask you.
That was the white whale for me, because I didn't, sniping programs and sites were new. I didn't trust them.
Right.
So I would wait until the last 5 seconds of the auction and push the bid button. Well, of course, with 7 seconds to go on that auction, my power went out. And that board went to a Japanese collector for a relatively, pittance. It vanished. And we did not see another copy of that game surface until about 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
When another copy was finally located and dumped. But, the community of arcade game enthusiasts and players could have had that game, for
dumped,
20,
meaning you got
years.
it? Like a data dump, or?
We got the dump from a lovely...
Oh, you got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah. But by we, I mean the MAME, the group that is now in charge of sort of acquisitions and dumping and stuff like that. Yeah, they were able to find a copy and dump it in Spain.
What kind of game is it?
It is a somewhat reminiscent of... it's sort of a Galaxian type of game where you are.
We know all about that.
Shooting invaders and stuff like that. I'm not too. I have not actually played it myself.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I'm glad that it finally that weight of guilt.
It's true. It's just that missing puzzle piece. I promise we'll only spend another 17 hours on MAME talk, but I'm just I'm curious. Do you have any personal big catches or big acquisitions of which you're particularly proud?
Big acquisitions that I'm proud of. There are a couple of them, but I wouldn't be able to come up with them off the top of my head. If this were one of the questions we discussed beforehand,
Yeah,
probably
I
could
got
have looked it
excited
up.
and it went off
But
on a tangent.
no, yeah, I was able to acquire. There were several that we picked up from Japan, including a couple of the arcade company Data East had
Totally.
this interesting system called the the Data East Company cassette system, Deco cassette system. So operators were tired of these, one game arcade cabinet. When people get tired of that game, you got to junk the cabinet because nobody's playing it anymore. So this was a system where the games came on these tapes that you could slot into the machine. You could load them up and people could play them. And when people got tired of them, you just put in a different tape with a different game.
Okay.
And so it was interesting. But of course, being tape based, it was very fiddly. So Data East used that system for maybe 6-7 years, and then discontinue it. But we were able to source several copies of some rare Data East cassettes and get them added to MAME.
See, that was a great answer.
Yeah.
I am fascinated, and we're coming towards the end of our orbit here, but we definitely want to dedicate some time to explore your expertise of screwball comedies from the 30s and 40s.
Sure.
I mean, I would go to, in my extreme layman's knowledge, Abbott and Costello or something like that. But what do you know?
Okay, so this has been a source of entertainment that my parents and I can both agree on, and we've been watching them since the pandemic started.
Okay.
And we're to the point now where there's not many left that we haven't seen. So basically, when you say the word screwball comedies, people automatically think of, well, you're talking about the Marx Brothers, or you're talking about Abbott and Costello, or one of these, comedy teams or whatever. But screwball comedy is really a particular genre of film that really got its start in the heyday of the golden age of Hollywood during the Depression. People were looking for light kind of escapist fare, but they also were very interested in the celebrities and the glamorous actors and actresses of the time. So screwball comedies are romantic comedies. They they have typically strong female leads, which was not something that you often saw in comedies in particular. And so they had kind of snappy dialogue oftentimes, and they were people call them screwballs because usually they had some just ridiculous premise that caused all sorts of misunderstandings and social confusion, where you had, like people from different classes interacting in totally unconventional ways. And it was a way for the people who were, living through really rough times. I mean, we like to think that the pandemic is rough, but compared to the Depression, it's really nothing.
We can eat.
And and so it was a way for them to just really just basically give it to the man and all this sort of thing, and have fun doing it. So there are a number of screwball comedies that people are reasonably familiar with. Bringing Up Baby with Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn is one that's often referred to. His Girl Friday with Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell comes up. My Man Godfrey with William Powell, who is, in my opinion, the greatest actor of the screwball comedy period, and Carol Lombard. Just wonderful stuff. But there's so many more than that that are just floating under the radar, unseen. Some of which you can find for free because the copyright was never renewed, things like that. So On YouTube, if you look for it, you will find the movie called Service Deluxe,
Okay.
where Vincent Price, I kid you not, this was before he got typecast in horror. Vincent Price is this young romantic lead who's been, who's comes off of, he's an inventor who's leaving the country after he's been raised by his 3 aunts or whatever. He comes to the big city and he's pitching his invention, and he gets involved with this woman who runs this service company that provides any kind of service you want to the people who are able to pay for it.
Okay.
And it's just Vincent Price actually gets to sing for a couple, for like, I don't know, it's about 30 seconds, but it's great stuff. And there's plenty more where that came from. There are many great screwball comedies. There's a particular list on IMDb. If you look for it, it's like the definitive list of screwball comedy or whatever. And they have a bunch of different stuff. If you stick to the movies that are rated like 7.0 out of 10 and higher, you will find just a wealth of tremendous stuff. Not all, most of it you'll have to rent, but it's wonderful. I mean,
that sounds amazing.
Compared to a lot of other types of entertainment you could get into, it's really not that expensive, and it's an intersection of humor, of dialogue, of just both classic acting and fashion, I might add.
Well,
that you
history.
You don't see, and history. Sure, history.
And just you get to watch it on so many levels of like how a joke was constructed in the 30s versus now, and what you could say, what you couldn't say. It just sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and there are some jokes that you just would not expect. There's a movie called Love Crazy with William Powell and Myrna Loy, who were the team that made all the Thin Man movies, a great series of movies from that same period that have a lot of screwball elements, even though they are mysteries. So there's this movie called Love Crazy where this guy basically gets committed to a sanitarium. He breaks out, and in order to get close to his lady love, he poses as this old spinster, and he stuffs yarn balls under his like granny suit jacket. Well, at one point, he's leaning over trying to get this phonograph record started, and the yarn catches on the spindle, and it's so his breasts are unraveling on screen. You gotta wonder to yourself how'd that one get past the censors and
amazing.
Stuff like that. But yeah, so just lots of fun stuff.
Well, hey man, let's go out on that. Come back anytime. I want to hear about a lot of the other stuff we weren't able to get to today, but let's do a little bit of professionalism, because you got some homework out there on Earth, viewers. You want to check out Confluence Music-Programming. Did I get it right?
Yeah. C apostrophe MON -2-ENCE.
That is coming towards the end of July 23 through 25. Links will be inescapably everywhere. Click one when you see it. The fun does not stop there. You want to check out and possibly apply to play DisCon 3 in our nation's capital coming up in December, because I personally need a break when it comes to December. So that sounds great. You want to see Service Deluxe on YouTube. We check that out.
I will caution folks, the print is not very good. So, video quality, not the greatest, but it's still, the story's all there. Vincent Price and his leading lady are still there. It's great stuff.
Do a little social history, and we will, we'll get into it. We'll look forward to your musical curation at the upcoming Confluence, and whatever else you may drop on Dr. Demento as we look forward into the future. Randy, this has been such a great episode. Thank you so much for having the wherewithal to contribute to the Animal Songs Kickstarter and wanting to come out here in space. This has been great. This is Brian for Space Couch, for Randy for so many things, among them Confluence, Confluence, Worldcon, Discon 3, and all that entails, saying, call the spaceships to Davenport, prepare for Divanarchy, interface with a couch in space. Thanks, man. Space Couch out. This was fun. Awesome. Love it, dude. Oh, yeah.
Yes, that was fun.
We'll some stuff we didn't get to, but yeah, if you want to do any other appearances, we can totally cover board games or the history of film.
Man, I can't hear you.
Oh yeah, we'll do board games on a future thing. I'm sorry you can't hear me, but this will be up. You know how it works. It'll be up on Facebook shortly. I gotta fix the title, but that's okay because I'll do that shortly. All right, thank you so much for your time today. See you around.
And now you're completely gone.
Oh,